All right, let's be real for a sec. Who hasn't scrolled past a packed cafe, the kind with the tables spilling out onto the pavement or one of those trendy new bistros and thought, I could totally nail this whole restaurant thing? You have, right? Come on, we've all been there.
Oh, absolutely.
Eh,
So easy to get swept up in the fantasy of it all.
right. Crafting the perfect menu, that buzzing atmosphere, but between that delicious dream and actually, turning a profit. Well, let's just say there's a whole lot to unpack, and that's exactly what we're diving into today.
The nitty-gritty behind those restaurant dreams. Love it.
You got it. And we're serving up this hefty portion of knowledge about UK restaurant profits, all thanks to you. You found this fascinating Manuvial blog article.
And it's a spicy one. It's so interesting to me because, look, everyone eats right.
Yeah.
But so many people underestimate just how complex the restaurant industry really is. It's way more than just whipping up some tasty grub.
No kidding. The article kicks off by painting this picture of the UK restaurant scene, vibrant, diverse, you name it. It's got it all.
A real melting pot of flavors.
Totally. But then, bam, reality check time. It's a tough business.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking average owner earnings, get this, from £30,000 to £90,000 a year. And this is a big, but with huge E variations.
Huge EE. So no, you're not guaranteed to be swimming in cash just because you can whip up, say, a mean Sunday roast.
Sadly, no. Although if your Sunday roast is good enough, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, so point is, this isn't about some get-rich-quick scheme. It's about, understanding all the factors that go into making some restaurants thrive while others, well,
Struggle to keep the doors open.
exactly. And the article jumps right into one of the biggest factors, location, location, location. It compares potential earnings in London versus other big UK cities versus those more rural spots.
And the differences are pretty stark.
Tell me about it. London especially. It's like a whole different beast.
It is. You've got the potential to earn big, like really big. Think 50,000 to 120,000 pounds annually. But those costs, rent alone, could make your eyes water. We're talking 3,000 to 15,000 pounds per month for a prime spot.
Per month.
Per month.
Oof. That's a lot of bangers and mash you'd have to sell just to cover the rent.
No kidding. But that's the price you pay for being in the heart of it all, I guess.
Right, so you're really paying a premium for that London postcode. But what about those other major UK cities? Is the potential still there, even if it's not, quite at that London level?
Definitely. You're still talking to good living. The article mentions places like Manchester, Birmingham, Edinburgh. Restaurant owners there can still earn a very respectable 40,000 pounds to 100,000 pounds a year.
Not too shabby at all. Still a really good income.
Right.
But now I'm picturing those charming countryside pubs. Surely their costs are way lower, right? But maybe fewer customers to make up for it.
You hit the nail on the head. Those rural restaurants benefit from lower operating costs, for sure. But you're right, they're also dealing with a much smaller pool of potential customers. We're talking potential earnings of 20,000 to 50,000 pounds a year.
So it's a trade-off.
It is.
The peace and quiet of the countryside.
Versus the hustle and bustle.
Of the city.
Exactly.
It's really interesting, isn't it?
It is.
Each location has, its own set of pluses and minuses.
Absolutely.
You really have to find the right fit for, what you're trying to do and who you're trying to reach.
Exactly. And speaking of finding your niche, the article highlights how important your cuisine and concept are to those profits.
Oh, yeah.
Because a unique dining experience, maybe like that cat cafe you mentioned earlier.
Don't even get me started on the cat cafe.
Well, those can often command higher prices, because they're offering something different.
Totally. I waited in line for an hour to pet fluffy felines while sipping, let's be honest, overpriced coffee.
But you enjoyed it.
And I'd probably do it again. It's all about tapping into those trends, offering something special, something that people are itching to experience, even if it means shelling out a bit more.
Exactly. You're giving them an experience. It's not just a meal. And don't forget those external factors, things like seasonality. A beachside ice cream parlor, for example.
You're not exactly booming in a UK winter.
Precisely. And then there's the overall economic climate to factor in. A sudden rise in ingredient costs, say, because of, Brexit-related import issues.
Weka bites again.
Right. Well, those things can really mess with those profit margins.
So many things to juggle. But let's dive into something I find fascinating. How the type of restaurant itself influences what you can actually earn. The article breaks it down into three main categories: fast food, casual dining, and, of course, fine dining.
The Holy Grail.
Right. We're talking vastly different price points for a greasy spoon burger versus a meticulously plated, like 12-course tasting menu.
Oh, absolutely. And the whole business model is different. Fast food, for example, that's all about volume.
Right, right.
Lower profit margins per item, for sure, but a constant flow of customers.
Like a well-oiled machine.
Think of it this way. You might only make, say, 50p profit on each burger.
Which isn't much.
No, but when you're selling hundreds of those burgers a day,
Suddenly, those pennies start adding up. So what kind of income are we actually talking about here? What's the average chippy or burger joint owner taking home?
the article estimates somewhere between 25,000 pounds to 50,000 pounds a year.
Okay, so not like a life of luxury yachts, but...
Not necessarily, but listen, you're working hard for it, that's for sure.
Right. Long hours, keeping those fryers going.
Dealing with the lunch rush.
Making sure the milkshakes don't melt.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's fast food. What about casual dining? This is your gastropubs, your family-run Italian places, those ramen bars everyone's obsessed with these days. What's the financial picture like there?
So think of this as the middle ground. You've got higher prices than fast food, obviously.
Right.
But you're still aiming for that consistent customer flow. People sitting down for a meal, maybe having a glass of wine, a craft beer.
A leisurely dessert.
Exactly. That all adds to those margins.
So are we talking a decent jump in income compared to, say, the burger joint?
Oh, absolutely. A noticeable difference. Casual dining owners in the UK, they can expect to earn somewhere in the range of 35,000 to 75,000 pounds a year, according to this article.
Okay, so a bit more breathing room.
You would think so. Still a ton of work, though.
Oh, I bet. Restaurants are no joke. All right, but now let's talk fine dining. This is where things get really interesting for me.
Oh, for sure.
We're talking white tablecloths, Michelin stars, those dishes that look like little miniature works of art.
And probably cost about as much as a small car.
Probably. But what's the financial forecast for these temples of gastronomy? Give me the details.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting. Fine dining is all about exclusivity. You're serving way fewer customers, but at much, much higher prices. It's a whole different ballgame.
Right, it's about the experience.
The ambiance.
The service. The fact that you can tell people you dropped like 100 quid on a plate of pasta.
Exactly. Bragging rights. No, but you're right. And because of that exclusivity, you get those high profit margins per dish. The article estimates that fine dining owners can bring in something like 70,000 pounds to 150,000 pounds a year.
Okay, that's a lot of dough.
It is. Yeah. But you got to remember the pressure that comes with that, right? To maintain those standards.
Oh, I bet. To keep those Michelin stars.
Exactly.
You know what's always blown my mind, though? It's not just about what's on the plate. There are all sorts of clever ways that restaurant owners can bring in extra cash on top of those, bums and seats meals.
Oh, tell me about it. That's what I always say.
Yeah.
People don't realize there are these hidden revenue streams just waiting to be tapped into.
Right. So let's dish. First up, let's talk about delivery. It's been a game changer, especially these past few years. But I'm guessing there's a difference in how profitable it is compared to, say, takeaway, right?
You are on fire today. The article makes a clear distinction, and it all comes down to those third-party apps.
Ah, yes. Deliveroo, Uber Eats, the gang's all here.
Right, and these platforms, they were lifesavers for a lot of restaurants during those uncertain times,
During the lockdowns when no one could leave their house.
Exactly.
But I'm guessing those platforms don't come cheap.
Let's just say they take their cut. While they do expand your reach, you're also giving them a pretty hefty percentage of each order.
I'll admit I've definitely gotten very comfortable ordering in. But those service fees, they add up.
For the customer, yeah. But for the restaurant, it's even worse. We're talking 15% to 35% of every order gone.
Ouch. That is a huge chunk of your profit.
It is. So what's the solution?
Convincing people to put on a pants and come get the food themselves.
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner. Takeaway is where it's at if you want to maximize those profits. You're cutting out the middleman, no third-party fees eating away at those margins. In fact, this article suggests that takeaway orders, they can bring in a cool 20% to 30% of a restaurant's total revenue.
Okay, point taken. Next time I'm craving pad thai, I'll do my local spot a favor and go pick it up myself. What about events and catering, though? That's got to be a good gig, right?
You're thinking like a pro now. The article actually highlights these as potential gold mines. Think weddings, corporate events, even just a big birthday bash.
People are always looking for catering.
Right. And it's not just about the food either. It's the service, the atmosphere, the whole shebang.
It's an experience.
Exactly. Plus, you're prepping food in bulk. so those margins are even better. This article mentions events bringing in anywhere from £1,000 to £10,000 per booking, depending on the scale of it all.
Okay, so we're talking more than just like a few party platters here.
Oh yeah, there's the big leagues.
All right, so we've covered the exciting part, the potential for profit, but now it's time to face the music. Expenses. It's all fun and games until that first electricity bill arrives.
Don't remind me.
How does the article break down all those unavoidable costs? So let's get down to brass tacks. What kind of expenses are we really talking about here to make this restaurant dream a reality?
Well, the article does a nice job of breaking it all down into two main buckets.
Okay, I like buckets. Makes it simple.
Right, so you get your fixed costs.
Okay.
And your variable costs.
Got it. So fixed costs being those bills you just can't get out of paying no matter what.
Exactly. Whether you're serving 5 customers or 500, those bills keep on coming. Think rent, utilities, electricity, gas, water equipment, maintenance, those sorts of things.
Okay, so the non-negotiables. What kind of numbers are we talking about for those? Because I bet rent in London is a real killer, right?
Oh, tell me about it. The article actually mentions prime locations in London going for a gut-wrenching £3,000 to £15,000 per month.
Per month?
Per month. Just for rent.
That's like more than my mortgage. And I don't even have to worry about health inspections. It's not just rent though, right?
No, you've got those other fixed costs to think about. Utilities can be a real pain, especially with energy prices through the roof these days. The article, it mentions monthly utility bills ranging from £1,000 to £3,000, depending on the size of the place, of course.
Right, of course.
And then there's always that dreaded equipment maintenance. You're looking at another potential £2,000 to £10,000 annually for that. And that's if everything goes smoothly. Imagine your oven breaking down on a Friday night.
Don't even put that out there. Talk about a nightmare.
Right. And we haven't even gotten to everyone's favorite taxes.
Ah, right. Those lovely UK taxes, they always get their share.
They do. The government doesn't care if you're serving Michelin star meals or fish and chips. They want their cut. So that's VAT, business rates, all those permits and licenses you need just to open the doors legally.
It's like you need a business degree on top of your culinary skills just to navigate it all.
Okay, so those are the fixed costs. The ones that are as predictable as, well, I was going to say British weather, but...
Let's not go there.
Good point. Okay, so what about those variable costs, the ones that are a bit more, shall we say, unpredictable?
So these are the costs that are directly tied to how much business you're actually doing, how much you're selling, how many customers are walking through the door.
Okay, so this is where things can get a bit dicey if you're not careful. What are some of the biggies that restaurant owners really need to keep an eye on?
Well, staffing is a huge one, right? You've got wages, benefits, training costs, the whole 9 yards.
And with the cost of living going up and up, I imagine it's getting even tougher to find and keep those good staff. Oh, absolutely. You need to stay competitive with wages to attract and keep talented people. And even then, the restaurant industry, it's notorious for high turnover. People come and go.
It's a tough job. It's demanding, long hours.
You're on your feet all day.
Dealing with, interesting customers sometimes. It's not for everyone.
Exactly. The article, it mentions that payroll typically eats up somewhere between 25% to 35% of a restaurant's total revenue.
That's huge.
It's a massive chunk.
Okay.
So staffing, big one. What else falls under these variable expenses? Give me the rundown.
Well, you can't forget about the star of the show, the food, the cost of ingredients, all your supplies, beverages. That's going to fluctuate a lot. It all depends on the market, right? The price of tomatoes one week might be double what it was the next. It's unpredictable. That's the thing with food, right? It's not like you're ordering phone cases where the prices are pretty stable.
Exactly. You're at the mercy of the markets, the seasons, all of it. The article, it highlights that food cost alone averages about 28% to 35% of revenue for most places. So managing your inventory, being smart about what you're ordering, minimizing waste, that's crucial.
So much to juggle. You need those high quality ingredients, but you also need to make sure you're not, going bankrupt in the process. But here's the thing, right? This article isn't all doom and gloom. It doesn't just leave us with this terrifying picture of restaurant finances.
Oh, absolutely not. It actually offers some really practical advice, some solid strategies for navigating these financial landmines and actually boosting your profits.
Okay, because after that crash course in expenses, I could definitely use some good news. So, lay it on me. How do aspiring Gordon Ramsays make this work? How do they beat the odds?
Well, the article breaks it down into 3 main areas.
Beat me.
Boosting sales, and keeping those customers coming back for more.
Okay, customer loyalty, I love it.
Exactly. Then there's cutting those operational costs, making sure you're running a tight ship.
Right, because every penny counts.
Every penny. And of course, making sure your marketing's on point, getting those bums in seats, so to speak.
Love it. Okay, let's dig in. Boosting sales and customer loyalty, where do we start? How do you make people fall in love with your restaurant in this crazy competitive world?
Well, it's about creating an experience people want to return to, right? And rewarding those loyal customers who do. It's like the article says, a loyal customer base is more valuable than gold.
It's so true. A loyal customer, they're not just there for a one-time fling with your fish and chips.
Exactly. They become regulars, they bring their friends, they tell everyone they know. It's priceless.
Word of mouth is everything. So how do you actually cultivate that kind of loyalty? What are some tangible things that these restaurant owners are doing?
Well, for starters, something as simple as a good loyalty program can go a long way.
Oh, I do love a good loyalty card.
Right. Like those buy 10 coffees, get one free punch cards.
Or those point systems where you're like, oh, I'm so close to a free appetizer.
Exactly. It works. It shows people you appreciate their business. And of course, the menu itself plays a huge role.
Oh, absolutely. The menu is everything. It's the first impression. It's what gets people in the door and hopefully coming back for more.
Exactly. And this is where it gets kind of scientific.
Yeah.
The article, it calls it menu engineering.
Menu engineering.
That sounds serious.
It's all about being strategic with how you design that menu, highlighting those high-profit items.
Okay.
Maybe using some enticing descriptions.
Ooh, like our locally sourced beef, slow cooked for 12 hours.
Exactly, you're speaking my language. Maybe even adding some mouth-watering photos. These little things, they make a difference. And don't forget the power of upselling.
Ooh, upselling. A classic.
Right. Offer add-ons, combo meals, that extra side of something tempting.
Do you want fries with that?
Precisely.
It's all about understanding what makes people tick, right?
Customer psychology 101. Exactly. Okay, so we've got those customers hooked. Now, let's talk about trimming the fat on those operational costs. Where do we start? What are some areas where restaurants can, tighten their belts without sacrificing quality?
Well, we talked about staffing being a big one, right? That's often one of the biggest expenses a restaurant has. So the article suggests looking into more flexible scheduling practices.
Okay, so like not having a ton of staff on hand during those like slow Tuesday afternoons.
Exactly. Match your staffing levels to your actual needs.
Work smarter, not harder.
Exactly. And cross-training those employees, that's another big one. If someone can seamlessly float between, say, taking orders, running food, maybe even helping out in the kitchen if needed, that's invaluable.
A team of multitasking superstars.
Exactly. And then there's the issue of food waste, which sadly is a huge problem in the industry.
Oh, I bet. All those uneaten plates of food, it's got to be heartbreaking, not to mention wasteful.
Both ethically and financially, it's a lose-lose situation. So the article stresses having a really good inventory management system, knowing what you have, what needs to be used quickly, what's about to expire. That's key to minimizing waste.
So basically being super organized. What about like getting creative with the menu to use up ingredients that are about to go bad? I've seen places do that and it's always so smart.
Love that. That's actually one of the suggestions in the article. Having daily or weekly specials to use up those ingredients. It's a win-win.
Totally. It reduces waste and gives the customer something new and exciting to try. Okay, so we've talked about getting those sales up, streamlining those operations. What's the final ingredient in this recipe for restaurant success?
Marketing, my friend. You can have the most incredible food, the best atmosphere, but if nobody knows about it, you're dead in the water.
It's like that age-old question, right? If a tree falls in the woods and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound? If a restaurant serves amazing food but doesn't tell anyone, are they actually successful?
Exactly. And these days, it's all about having a strong online presence. The article stresses that. Social media, that's your friend.
Because that's where the people are. They're scrolling through Instagram, checking out Facebook, on TikTok, probably while they're eating. Let's be real.
Exactly. So showcase your food, engage with your local community, make people's mouths water with every post. It's all about temptation.
Right. And a picture of a delicious meal, that's worth 1,000 words, right?
Oh, absolutely. 1,000 delicious words.
Oh, what about those online ordering platforms? I know we talked about the fees they take, but they're also a marketing tool in themselves, aren't they?
100%. Yes, you might pay a commission per order, but those platforms, they get you in front of a huge audience, people who are actively looking for their next meal.
Exposure, exposure, exposure.
Exactly. Even if someone isn't ordering right that second, seeing your restaurant, your food, it plants a seed.
Love it. So we've got social media, we've got those delivery platforms, even with their fees. What else should these aspiring restaurateurs be thinking about?
You know what never goes out of style? Good old-fashioned word-of-mouth marketing. Encourage those happy customers to leave reviews.
Yes, Yelp, TripAdvisor, Google reviews, all of them.
Exactly. Those glowing testimonials, they can make all the difference.
Social proof. People trust other people.
Mm.
Okay, so we've talked about the challenges, but the article wraps things up with some really inspiring examples of UK restaurants that are absolutely crushing it.
And I love this part. It gives you hope, right?
It does, because it proves it's possible.
Exactly. These aren't just, big name chains with tons of money to throw around. We're talking small, independent restaurants that have found their niche and are reaping the rewards.
All right, so hit me with these success stories. Give me a dose of that inspiration. What are we talking about here?
Well, one that really stood out to me was this small, completely independent place in Bristol. They've tapped into a couple of massive trends: veganism and sustainability. They've gone all in on plant-based, locally sourced, zero-waste dining.
Oh, wow. So they're really appealing to those eco-conscious foodies.
Exactly. And it's clearly resonating because they're pulling in about £400,000 in revenue a year with a 20% profit margin.
That's amazing. Proof that you can do good and do well at the same time. What else? Give me another success story.
Okay, so on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, there's this high-end, fine dining place in London.
Okay, now we're talking.
They've really leaned into that whole idea of exclusivity.
Okay.
We're talking a sleek, minimalist dining room, a menu that changes with the seasons, only the finest locally sourced ingredients, that whole thing.
Sound fancy.
Oh, it is. They're pulling in a cool $1.2 million in revenue every year.
Okay, now that's a number. That's impressive.
It is. And with a 25% profit margin, that owner's doing all right for themselves.
More than all right, I'd say. Okay, so we've got plant-based, we've got high-end. Give me one more for the road.
Okay, this one's for all the burger lovers out there.
Yeah.
There's this small burger joint in Manchester, and they've managed to create this kind of mini empire out of their gourmet burgers.
Okay, so from humble beginnings to burger royalty. I love it. What's their secret?
High quality ingredients, definitely, and creative flavor combinations. But they've also been really savvy with their marketing. They've built a real buzz online, especially on social media, and it's translated into real-world success. They've now got 5 locations.
Whoa, that's amazing.
Each location's pulling in about £500,000 annually.
So it's safe to say that making it in the restaurant industry is possible, right? It's not all just like horror stories of financial ruin.
Oh, absolutely. These success stories prove it. It takes a lot of work, a clear vision, and a whole lot of grit, but it can be incredibly rewarding, both personally and financially.
You've got to be passionate and maybe a little bit crazy, right?
A little bit, but that's what makes it fun.
That's the restaurant industry for you. So who knows, maybe out there right now, listening to this, is the next big culinary superstar. The next Gordon Ramsay.
The next big thing.
Exactly. And if that's you, well, get cooking. That's it for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time for more delicious insights.